Okay, Mike, this is your first fight at middleweight in your home, at home in the UK. How are you feeling for it?
I feel fantastic, really looking forward to the fight. I just had my last sparring session this morning, went pretty good. My cardio's really good. I feel pretty strong. I think I've managed to not overtrain for this fight, which was an issue I've had. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. My last two fights have been over in North America. So, it's great to be fighting back in the UK. Don't get me wrong, I love competing in the States and in Canada, and the fans out there are fantastic. But, obviously being English, it's nice to be back home on home soil. I know the fans are very passionate, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's at the O2 Arena, which is now, the biggest venue in Europe. So the crowd's going to be amazing. I've got a good opponent, Jason Day. I think our styles match up well for an exciting fight. So I think it's going to be a great weekend. There's going to be some great fights on, and fingers crossed, I'm confident I can come away with the victory.
Obviously, you were set up to fight Chris Lieben, and that fight fell through. I read on the forums that you were pretty disappointed with that, Chris being quite a big name,
yeah,
and that would have been a good setup for you. Jason Day isn't quite such a big name, even though potentially he's just as dangerous. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, Jason Day is probably just as dangerous as Chris Lieben, but he hasn't got the name recognition that maybe Chris Lieben has. Jason Day's been around for a long time, but he hasn't been fighting in the UFC, which is where your everyday fans will hear about you. So yeah, it is a little bit of a no-win situation, kind of. If I beat Jason Day, then the casual fans really won't give me too much credit for doing that, and God forbid if I lose, then they'll be kind of like, well, who's this guy that he's just lost to, So maybe it's not the best scenario in that respect. But to people on the inside and to the UFC staff, I'm sure they know what Jason's capable of, So in the UFC's eyes and to the hardcore MMA fans, hopefully they'll know that when I go out and fingers crossed, touch wood, and I beat him, that I've beaten a decent opponent. I was disappointed that I wasn't fighting Lieben because it would have been an exciting fight. But I'm sure, I'm sure me and Jason are going to give just an exciting fight.
You're 5 days off the fight now. What's your training routine over the next 4 or 5 days?
I will, like I say, I just had my last sparring session this morning. I got up at about 7 o'clock. I went for a pretty long run, just real nice and slow, just a little bit of a fat burner. Then I did 3 rounds of sparring, and then I just drilled some submission defences and a few escapes, things like that. I head down to London tomorrow. I have a lot of, you have to get to the UFC, you have to, check into the hotel on the Tuesday. The UFC have a lot of, press obligations that you have to fulfil, so I've got to get down for that. What I'll probably do is I'll probably have a little run each morning. I'll probably spend half an hour hitting pads in the morning and half an hour doing wrestling drills and submission drills in the evening. So, like I said, the training's all done. It's just a case of staying sharp and making sure your technique's right, so you're going to drill the submission escapes time and time again, so when it comes fight night, and you have to do it, it's just second nature, it's in your head. And then a little bit of pad work in the morning just to keep your hands sharp, maybe a very, very light spar, something like that,
What are your opinions on the Kimbo fights at the weekend with Kimbo versus James Thompson?
Yeah, I've got to say, I think our man, Colossus, James Thompson, I think he was robbed, to be honest. I think the fight probably maybe should have been stopped at the end of the second round, and when he had him pinned in the crucifix and was just dropping elbows. And I think it was a shocking stoppage in the third round. He popped his ear, he was landing some good shots, but James was still on his feet, and was still swinging back. But the referee's going to call it, you know what I mean? It's easy to criticise the referee, but you've got to remember that they're trying to look after the fighters. So I don't think anything was fixed or anything like that, but I do think it was a bit of a premature stoppage. But, sometimes, like I said, the referee's got to make that call, so unless you've been in that position, it's hard to criticise. You shouldn't really criticise, he's trying to look out for the fighters. Kimbo was landing good shots, but I still think that James had some fight left in him, so, it's disappointing for James. And it was an entertaining fight, Kimbo's, he's a good character, so, but a shame for James.
When you were fighting at light heavy, you said that you never really had to cut weight, and that pretty much you were fighting at your walking round weight. I know that when I've spoken to you before, you've made offhand comments of all you ever did was cut out beer.
Yeah.
How are you finding now cutting to middleweight?
To be honest, cutting to middleweight has been pretty easy, you know. It just means I had to neaten up my diet a little bit. I've had to do a bit more road work, you know, a little bit more running in the mornings. And just cut out carbohydrate, really. You know, just limit my carbohydrate after mid-afternoon. Yeah, but obviously I've had, you know, I mean, I did, when I fought at light heavyweight, I was able to get away with having a little bit of junk food, you know, having the odd pizza here and there, and I've got a sweet tooth, you know, I do like getting stuck into a few chocolate bars here and there. So obviously I've had to stop all that, which is driving me crazy, to be honest. You know, one thing I'm looking forward to is after the weekend is just going crazy and being able to eat some food that I like, you know. But on the whole, the weight cut to middleweight is a lot easier than what I thought it was going to be. I should have done it a long time ago. I'm performing better at this weight. I'm faster, I'm stronger, I'm more explosive, and I'm fighting people that are more my size, you know. So it's definitely the right decision.
Does it suit your fighting style more?
100%. I think it suits my fighting style perfectly. You know, my fighting style, you know, I'm not the strongest guy in the world, but I'm pretty strong, but I'm fast, and I like to be explosive and use my speed, to land my strikes and combinations and stuff. And so I think that, you know, with the extra weight that I've lost, you know, I'm able to move faster, and speed generates power. So therefore, I'm hitting harder. You know, if you ask my boxing coach, he'll tell you I'm hitting way harder, I'm kicking harder, my technique's better, my wrestling's better. Everything, you know, not only am I fighting at a lower weight, my technique is improved. So I'm all round a better fighter, and I'm fighting at my natural weight class.
For your last fight in Canada, you went over to the States to train for a few weeks. Now, you haven't done that for this fight. What have you done in preparation for the fight coming up on Saturday?
Yeah, I've been training at the Wolfslayer MMA Academy. We've got some great guys in there to train with. Originally, I was fighting Chris Lieben, and our gym's full of guys that are good to train with if you're fighting Chris Lieben. You know, we've got quite a lot of brawlers. So yeah, that was the plan. You know, stay at the Wolfslayer. You know, that's the way I've always trained. I just like to go and mix it up a little bit and train out in the States occasionally. You know, get a different perspective, different training partners, things like that. So yeah, you know, I mean, all I've been doing, I've been living in the gym pretty much. I've been in the Wolfslayer most days, you know, sparring, wrestling, ground fighting, throwing the tractor tyres around outside on the car park, you name it. I've been doing it all, running, sprints, everything. Been training my ass off like a man possessed, but training wisely, training smart, you know. You've got to listen to the body and be careful that I don't overtrain. But I'm happy with the way things have gone. I've been getting good sparring, and I'm confident with the fight.